Hey ladies, how are you doing today? So I'm actually on like my third take this morning because my computer keeps freezing. But it's all good. We are going to get through this. I am going to get through this. Of course, you have no knowledge otherwise except for me sharing that. But it's all good. So today we're going to be digging in my space here. It's a garage, but it's not. It's completely converted into this great workspace, and this is where my recordings will take place. Sometimes I'll have backgrounds, sometimes I won't. Sometimes you get all natural. Today you're getting that. You can see my little puzzle table where my daughter and I have a puzzle going on. It's all good. This is all great. This is me. And that's what you get here at the Intentionally Designed Life. You just get me. So we are digging in. We're getting started. It is the middle of January, but we are actually finally getting started in this group in this new year of digging into new content. And so starting off the new year, because what better opportunity is talking about self-leadership. Like now is the time. Like leading yourself throughout 2021, now is the time. And to do it intentionally, well, to do it intentionally, you've got to actually be leading yourself. You have to have direction. You have to have a plan. You have to know where you're going. And that's what we're going to talk about for the next 3 videos. So hang on. There's a lot to unpack in these 3 videos. And it'll be great. You see my eyes starting to the side. That's just because that's where my notes are. And you will appreciate me following my notes because I often stray and then it becomes a much longer video, but with entertainment. So hey, it works. Okay, what is self-leadership? I want to start with that. It is not just this new age coin term. It is not a fancy description of something. Self-leadership is simply leading yourself. That's what it is. It's leading yourself to a specific purpose, plan, or place in your life, or even to people specifically. So I'm going to modify that. Leading yourself to a specific purpose, plan, place, or people in your life. That's what self-leadership is. It's not some fancy psychology term. It's just literally leading yourself. Okay? So now that we have that very clear what self-leadership is, let me go ahead and talk about what we're going to talk about this week. So this week, we're going to go ahead and we're going to concentrate on 3 very specific areas of self-leadership. They're pretty much the encompassing part of it. The first thing we're going to talk about today is self-awareness. In our next video, we're going to talk about self-discipline. And in our third video, we're going to talk about self-forgiveness. And if you have not ever heard of that before, you might need it. Self-forgiveness is a powerful tool that we're going to walk through in the 3rd series. But today is self-awareness, so we're going to be digging into that. So the first thing that you need to know is you are fearfully and wonderfully made in His image, yet uniquely designed for His purpose. It is so key that you know that, right? That you don't just know that, you have confidence in that and that you have clarity in that and not just like, oh, I've heard that. No, to know that, that's going to be the key to all of the other things that I'm about to talk about. All right. So knowing that is and understanding that means that you are one of a kind. Your personality, your behaviors, your circumstances, your relationships, your dreams and purposes, plans, your ability to care for yourself. Every single one of those pieces is essential to self-awareness, to understanding who you are. Do you know about yourself in all those areas? Like, are you confident in who you are in all those areas? Like, do you understand how the circumstances of your life have shaped you? That's what we're going to sit down and we're going to explore today. So the first thing, the step 1 to leading yourself is knowing who you are, what you want, how to take care of yourself, and really digging in. And that's what we're going to do. So self-awareness starts with understanding your personality. There are a billion, maybe just dozens, seems like billions, right, of personality assessments out there. There's Myers-Briggs, probably the most popular one. A lot of corporations will use that. There's the Enneagrams, very, very popular right now, but also on a lower scale. You don't see those in corporations so much, but you see people doing them. There's What Color Are You? I mean, really, we could go on. There are a lot of personality assessments. The options seem endless. And many of them are free. So you can get online, you can pull it up, and you can do a free assessment. But if you do that, remember you get what you paid for. So your free assessment may be closely resemble to you, but it's not always spot on. And if you have ever paid for an assessment and done a free assessment, you do know the difference. You can see the difference. And that paid assessment, you're just like, whew, yeah, that's me. Like I can relate to 95% of that. So like, go ahead, go for it, do the free assessments, but always be prepared for what you get is not going to fully describe you. And the truth of the matter is, a personality assessment in itself is not going to fully describe you, right? You are not 100% of anything. No one is. So you might find yourself like, yeah, 95% of that is speaking about me. Where in a free assessment, you might be like, oh, 80% of that is like speaking about me. And that's kind of how it goes. But I digress. I went way off track there, my little rabbit trail. But very specifically, understanding your personality is essential to really understanding this whole self-awareness package. All right, understanding how you were made, like understanding these personality traits. It's key. And if you can understand those, all of a sudden you have like these light bulb moments go on and go, oh, that makes sense. Oh, I see why this happened or that happened, or I did this or I did that. Oh, I get that. Right? And you start to align yourself to be in the space where your personality actually is designed. And so that's why that's actually key. Another aspect is knowing your behaviors. What's the difference between a personality and a behavior? Well, a personality is like a mental aspect. A behavior is like what you do. Maybe it's because of that personality you do this behavior. They are closely linked, but the behaviors are about what you do, and that is a big part of, again, understanding you. What's it called? The behavior assessment that I am most inclined to, and I actually don't see a lot of behavior assessments out there, is the DISC behavior assessment. And so that's asking, like, are you dominant individual, right? Dominant does not mean you're overbearing. It can be, but it does not mean that. But you can be a dominant individual, an influential individual, steady individual, conscientious individual. Those are pretty much the 4 areas of our behaviors. And then what do you do because of that grouping that you fall into, right? What are your behaviors? What do you practice? A dominant person, you may assume all leaders are dominants. That's not true at all. Like, you have leaders in all 4 of these behaviors. So that's a misnomer, right? All leaders are not dominant. All dominant people are not leaders. It's just a misnomer in the titling of it. But the truth of the matter is, what's it called? Leaders do have some dominant behaviors, but again, that does not make them dominant individuals. Influential people, right? These are kind of personality, like high personality type people, engaging people, right? You can be an influential person and be a leader, not just the life of the party. Okay, 2 different things. But do you know your behavior? Do you understand the things you do and why you do them? Right? That's another big part of self-awareness, and that is just key. Now, I have access to some paid exams for anybody. I don't make anything off of them, but they do cost you money, and you get it discounted. So I have access. If anybody's interested, you can go ahead and send me a message, and I will get you some of these assessments. But yeah, they are just great tools for understanding who you are. But there's still like 4 more things to talk about. The next part of it is, what are the circumstances? Like, what are the things that have happened in your life, right? You may have had like this really easy, everything has fallen in my lap always type of life. You may have had the type of life where you have had to constantly feel like you're digging yourself out of a well just to breathe. Or you may have had a life somewhere in between, which is where most of us are, somewhere in between, right? We've had some really, really good events in our lives. We've had some really, really hard events in our lives. All of those circumstances are part of what mold you, what are part of your packaging, because of your reactions, because of how they've impacted you. That's all essential to your self-awareness. Okay, if you are new to the group, this is not This is not the direction of our group. This is not the topic of our group, but this is just a fact of my life. Okay, if you're new to the group, let me just share. I grew up in a very abusive childhood. Okay, those were circumstances in my life, but I grew from that. I learned from that. I walked away with things from that I could use as tools to make my life better. Okay, I did not stay buried. I did not let it crush me. Those are, again, tools that we have and things that we use in these circumstances. You may be somebody who spent years truly crushed by the circumstances that have happened in your life. Or you may be there now, right? That's part of what's packaged you. But having an awareness of those things gives you power. It gives you power to see circumstances differently. It gives you power to recognize the truth. Like, I grew up being told how worthless I was, how useless I was. Useless was really the big word, right? And those were things that weighed on me for years, but they were not the truth, right? So I could recognize the circumstances, and they helped package me for a long while, right? That was the mold I was in. But once I could see out of that, I could break that mold. But then it's also essential to recognize this is part of my story, right? Circumstances are part of our story. They are what lead us to where we are and how we react and how we go forward. So it's really important to understand and to know your circumstances. Okay. Relationships, right? We're all in relationships of any sort. Parent to child, child to parent, sibling to sibling, spouse, coworker, friends, neighbors, online friends. I mean, like, really, it's an endless, the checkout cashier, right? There are just endless relationships that we are in, right? Are they strong, positive relationships? Are they toxic relationships that have just held you back? Like, do you understand the relationships that have been in your life? Recognizing good and recognizing the not so good, right? That is also part of what shaped you, because that's part of where you have gone through healing, or you have healing to go through, or you're helping heal others. That's all part of relationships and that connection to you. Understanding that is really key in our self-awareness, because we know who we are, right? We can know our personality, we can know our behaviors, we can know our circumstances, but the greatest influence to fall over us is people, right? Toxic and good, they have the power to have the greatest influence over us. So having a good understanding of these relationships allows you to drive healthy relationships, even in a place where it was toxic or is toxic, and allows you to build appropriate barriers as you might need, or to break down barriers as you might need for the relationships. And that's absolutely, again, key in knowing that, understanding that. That's self-awareness, is evaluating those relationships and knowing how to use those relationships in your life, and knowing, something bad happens, don't run to your negative Nelly, right? Run to your positive Polly. Like, look for that person who's going to be like, oh man, that is awful, but this or this or this, and find those silver linings instead of this person who's going to continue to suck you under, right? Have that self-awareness of who to connect with. Now, the self-care term has kind of taken off in this world to mean something very different than what I'm about to talk about. So self-care, out there today is, out there, oh, remember to take care of yourself, remember to value you. It's very egocentric. It's very interconnected and related, and all about you. Now, that's not to say you can't do those things or shouldn't do those things. Absolutely. What I'm about to say is this. Don't go into the world's version of self-care, but recognize what you need to refresh yourself, to take care of yourself, to replenish yourself. That is absolutely key, because we all need that. Even Jesus stepped away from the disciples to be alone with the Father, because that's what he needed, right? And then he came back, and onward they went in the mission, right? What happened in those times? Between them. But that's not what I'm getting at, right? We have to take a minute to just breathe. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about self-care. And we all do it very, very differently. But we all need it. We all need it in some capacity. And that, again, goes back to understanding your personality and your behaviors to know how you really need self-care. Maybe you do need a spa treatment. Like maybe your body is always in such a tense state that you need that spa treatment so you can take that breath. That may be. Okay, that's different than pampering yourself, right? That's being able to breathe, which is an essential aspect of our lives. Okay, so again, a little bit different. And again, I don't have a problem with you pampering yourself. I just want to separate what we're saying from all the self-love out there. You may be the type of person who just needs to separate yourself from the group, and maybe you just go read, or maybe you sing, or maybe you play an instrument, right? You're just doing something that refreshes you and reconnects you. Maybe it's a bubble bath. Again, that whole sense of your body is so tense that is just relaxing to you and cleansing. If you got to clean yourself, why not take it in a bubble bath? Maybe you're the type of person, this is kind of the category I fall into. Maybe you're the type of person who needs to separate yourself and just like blast music, worship music for me. Just blast it and just be like, just get taken away by that music to just be able to, it's about breathing. That's really what it's about. It's about being able to breathe and refresh and just kind of like look at everything all over again, or do everything all over again, whatever that is. But that is a big, key, essential part to that, is that breathing. So maybe you're the type of person who needs to do that. This one is not me. Maybe you're the type of person who just needs to clean. Like that just rejuvenates you. It's just cleaning. It allows you to expel energy that needs to be expelled, and you feel good about what you've done. Maybe that's who you are. Maybe you just need quiet space. Like you just need nobody. Like you just can go into a closet and just sit there and just breathe, right? I could use the word meditate, but again, that's just another word that people have changed into a different meaning for the world. But the truth is, it's just going into a place and just being like clearing your mind and just breathing, right? And most of the times we do that, like when we're praying, and you can pray silently. So that might be part of the aspect. The truth of the matter is, self-care is important because it's what revives you, and we all need reviving. Okay, we all need to be able to breathe clearly. We all need to be able to reconnect because we get disconnected when there's too much going on, too much in our face, too much of circumstances, too much of people, right? We all just get to that place where we need to just breathe. And that's what self-care truly is. Okay, it's a matter of taking care of yourself, right? It's a health thing. Okay, self-care may be also like if you have medical issues that you can control in some capacity, like obesity or being overweight. It's something you have some power over. You self-care may be walking. Self-care may be getting exercise done. Self-care may be eating properly, because that you feel rejuvenated, you feel revived after that. Okay, so self-care is really about taking care of yourself, and it really is a health impact, not just a luxury impact, though some things may seem like they're luxurious. That's okay. So the last aspect of really self-awareness that I want to touch upon is knowing, what do you want out of life? Now, I wholeheartedly believe, our life is but a mist. James says it in the Bible. Our life is but a vapor, right? It can be gone in a moment. Wholeheartedly, I recognize that. But that doesn't mean you can't have dreams and you can't plan and you can't align with what God has planned for your life, right? We can have dreams that once we can plan them and we can give them to Him, and maybe they come to fruition exactly as you plan it. But maybe He realigns it and it comes differently than you originally planned it. But the purpose of that is connecting and still moving forward. If you don't have dreams, if you don't have plans, if you don't choose a direction, right, you just kind of flit around life. You just kind of go from season to season, moment to moment, circumstance to circumstance, and you're not even necessarily growing in those places because why? You don't take the time to think about it. You don't take the time to evaluate. You are just plodding along. Well, that feels good because maybe you're scared to plan because maybe like things don't ever go out the way you think they should, or maybe it's just easier to plan, or maybe you feel like you're in a relationship and you don't have the same dreams, and so it's just easier to tamper yours. All those things may be feelings that you have, okay, that create this space of just kind of plodding along. It's key and so essential to understand, what are your passions? What are your dreams? Like, you may be passionate about knitting baby caps for NICUs. Fantastic. That is awesome. Have a dream and a plan and execute in that space, right? That's part of self-awareness. Knowing what your passions are and how you can use them. How you can use them for God. That's so key, right? We don't have these random passions, right? We are designed with purpose, right? We are created in his image. He knows us. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. I started this whole thing with talking about that, right? So we have these passions, we have these dreams. We can plan for them, leaving God's will to take over as well. So there was a lot of detail in self-awareness. Can you imagine what the next 2 videos are going to be like as we get into self-discipline? That's a big one. And then self-forgiveness. That is huge, huge, very, very healing factor in life. Okay, so here's what else I want to tell you. You need to study yourself. Again, get away from the whole egotistical the world. We're not supposed to know. We're not supposed to be self-focused. We're not supposed to be self-focused. But understanding yourself will allow you to serve, will allow you to get out and minister in the areas that you're designed to. That's why you should study yourself. That's why you should understand. Like I told you, I had this abusive childhood. Well, I can use that, right? So I had to study myself, and I had to understand what were the things I was feeling coming in and out of that. What happened? Breaking all of that down, because that allows me to understand others. It allows me to know the circumstance that I can share what others are feeling, and I can connect with that, right? That's why we study ourselves. It's not about us, but it's about how God can use us, and about getting out of the way and letting him use us, but understanding that, right? I could just walk around and be like, oh, I was in an abused childhood. Oh, you too? Oh, okay, that's great. And keep moving, right? Instead, I could be like, oh, I know what that felt like, right? And then we can have a different conversation. We can go in a different direction. That's why we study ourselves. So there's not this state of self-awareness, so that you can just elevate you. It's a state of self-awareness so that you can know and plan and be prepared for ways that God intends to use you. That's the key. So what are you trying to get to know about yourself? Why are you trying to do it, right? The personality assessments, sometimes they're just fun, what color are you? I'm blue. I don't know. I've never done the what color. But just getting to know those types of, sometimes that's fun. But I mean, really digging in and understanding, first, it's hard work. Second, we often don't really want to revisit things to understand them. But let me tell you how much better you feel afterwards. It doesn't feel good in it, but it feels so freeing afterwards because you have a clear picture. Okay, straight off my notes. Told you I'd do that. Okay, so I want you guys to dig in. I want you to really think about these aspects of your life. Think about your personality, your behavior, the circumstances of your life, the relationships that you are in or have been in. I want you to think about how you feel rejuvenated, like how you take care of yourself. And I want you to think about what you're passionate about, what your dreams and your plans are. I want you to share things in the comments, right? We're doing this completely different now. It's not just live on Facebook. I want you to engage and share and connect. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to engage and share and connect with you guys, because that's how we grow. That's the purpose of this, right? The application is the purpose of this. And if you just listen to me, well, that's fantastic. Thank you for listening, right? It doesn't change your life. And that's what that's what the intentionally designed life is about. It's about helping you create the intentionally designed life. So share your thoughts and comments, engage. Tell me, how well do you know yourself? Well enough to lead yourself, design your life? I do. I really, really want to know. I'm not just saying that. So I can tell you, I spent years feeling like I had no idea where I was going in life, what I wanted to do, just kind of floating and thinking all is well, right? I don't need to know those things. I will just do life as life happens. Let me tell you, that sounded great until you realize you're missing life happening. Like you're just reacting to life and responding to life and not living life. And there's so much more than just kind of floating and getting by. So much more. And sometimes it's a hard step to get there. But when you get there, it's like, oh, there's freedom, there's excitement, there's joy, instead of just living and going along and just like everything's fine, right? Living in a world where everything is fine. And tell me in the comments, do you say that? Do people ask you how you're doing? Oh, I'm fine, right? Fine is the worst word in the English language to allow you to truly live your life. Fine is just means I don't want to deal with anything. That's what fine means. And if I hit home to a couple of people, I know I've been there. I get that. Okay. Taking the time to really understand all of this means a greater focus, a greater joy, greater opportunity in all aspects of your life. Faith, relationship, work, all of them. It is what creates intentional design. So thank you for hanging in there for this nice lengthy video. I hope you have a fantastic day. Coming up next is going to be self-discipline. Are you ready to talk self-discipline? Because that's always a fun one too. Have a great day.